Okay. Right. Hi. Oh dear. I've got the time lag again. Oh, I just had a little episode trying to get this video working. It was just going all fucking pear-shaped for a while. I'm a bit disorientated from it. Okay. Let's get cracking with it then. So history, the distortion of history, right? This is what I figured out. I might just go on to my last video, talk about my last video, which went on for 12 hours, by the way. I was quite amazed that I could stick with it for 12 hours. It's like a mammoth presentation. It's called unpasteurized camembert. I don't know if you can find it anyway. History. The distortion of history. So what it is, right? I've started to think that it's not surprising that people just won't accept the truth because they've been lied to so consistently throughout history. I mean, all history is basically a big load of lies, as far as I can tell. Yeah. Yeah. So what it is, you know, if you think of Christianity, the Christians, they've been duped. They're just basically a bunch of useful idiots. The ruling class has been using to fight their wars and win their battles for them. You know, they get this stuff, and it's like, you know, they bully people into accepting this religion, and then they start fighting for it. Like, it's like, because then, like, several generations down the line, people are going to think, oh, we've got this religion, so it must be a good religion because all the people seem nice, you know, and friendly, and but you know, strict and disciplined and stuff. Because you have to be to live in a system with Christianity. You've got to be quite disciplined and you know. So then, what has Christianity done? It's basically burned all the witches, you know. But those witches weren't actual the witches that you're told to not allow to live in the Bible. What it means with "do not suffer a witch to live" is really talking about poisoners. The proper translation apparently would be poisoners. So do not suffer a poisoner to live. Now we've got this system now where the doctors who've taken the place of these so-called witches have become the poisoners. They're poisoning people. So according to the actual meaning, the spirit of the scriptures, we should be killing these doctors off, you know, the medical establishment at least, you know, the people, the movers and shakers that are poisoning people, putting mercury in people's teeth, and fluoride, giving them these fluoride sort of drugs, you know, these antidepressants that are based on fluorine. But people believe lies. This is what I've been thinking, right? We've as a sort of society of people, the European Christians are responsible for a huge amount of horror and destruction throughout the world. You know, we basically went and wiped out the Native Americans with whiskey and smallpox and guns. What it is, the real history is so unpalatable for most people. They don't want to really know. They would rather believe the lies. You know, they'd rather believe the lies, even though the Christianity, the whole point of it is to live in the truth. You know, it's like it's such a big lie. You know, and these, according to people like Hitler, who was quite successful with his propaganda, you know, for at least for a few years, and still in some ways he's still quite successful. The biggest lies are the most successful lies. You know, the lies that are most successful are the biggest lies, and we've just been fed all these lies. And we're still being fed them, and that's all people really know. That's their food. You know, if you change their food and start giving them something different, if they've had cooked food, right, for example, and that's all they know, if you give them raw food, right, which is quite possibly a lot more nutritious, they don't want to eat it because they're not used to it. So yeah, this is what I figured out. I think that, you know, like the white people in Europe are responsible for a lot of shit, a lot of like really terrible things. I mean, people have been doing this all throughout history, it seems, or for a lot of it, you know, the last, you know, recent few thousand years. But then again, it's difficult to know. I think, you know, we're being kept in the dark a lot more than we realise. Again, with the unpalatable truth, people don't like the truth. The truth is like raw meat compared to when you've only had cooked meat before. You know, and you're suddenly getting raw meat. You know, here's a pile of raw liver, and you've never had raw meat before. You know, so it's just, you're going to be horrified. You're going to think, oh, that's a dead animal. You know, but of course you're eating dead animals all the time. They're just being cooked and put, like, with you know, had herbs and stuff put with them, and a few vegetables maybe. Ah. So I think I'm going to go over yesterday's video while it's still kind of fresh in my mind. So I made this video. What happened was my mouse froze up. Let's open up the chat. So my mouse froze up, and I just decided to keep the video going. So I don't know if people can watch it or not. I can't seem to watch it at the moment. But I did go for 12 hours, almost solidly talking. I don't even know. I had a modafinil that helped me keep going, and I had HRC there, was like keeping me sort of propped up a bit. So I went 12 hours talking, you know, and it seemed to be like, well, as I remember it, it was quite a good compendium, like a lecture, like a 12-hour lecture of with hardly any breaks, you know. Just a couple of eating breaks, really, but I was there like on it for 12 hours because that's the sort of guy I am. You know, I've got my things that I'm interested in, and I can talk about them indefinitely, you know, literally for 12 hours and not feel tired at all. But there are some other situations where just a few seconds makes me feel tired. You know, I just want to go to bed. Ah, dear. So yeah, what I think is that people are, they're in denial, right? And because so much of our history makes us look really bad. You know, it makes the white race look really bad. And I mean, it's not, obviously we're not all really bad people. We've done a lot of good stuff. There's some interesting stuff that, you know, there's all the inventions, the computers and cars and aeroplanes and stuff, and internal combustion engines and trains, steel ships. You know, we've done a lot of interesting stuff. But if you look at our history, we've been real arseholes, you know. We've just gone around the world doing really unconscionable things, really out of order things, just horrible. We've been terrorizing the world. And a lot of that's basically because we've been duped with Christianity. We're going around with this idea that we're the perfect race, you know, that we're, you know, because we're Christians, and we go around, we destroy all these other races and take over their culture, and at the same time we're just destroying the world. We're creating a man-made mass extinction event. And a lot of it has been supported and propped up, like with Christianity. That's like a sort of, it's the devil. It's literally like the devil. It's it just takes over. You know, it's a book. It's not a real person. You can't argue with it. It's the Matrix. You know, it's the Matrix, and we're being conned. And we've been conned, and that's all people know. So when you look at history, if you look at it very clinically, what we've really done, then it's not compatible with Christianity. These things are completely going in the opposite direction. So we become like split personalities in order to fit in with our culture. Our personalities become divided and split into two. So we become like vampires without a soul, you know. We can't see our own reflection in the mirror, you know. We can't see the whole person, the people that we are, because it's so terrible. We're the offspring of monsters, you know, and really bad, nasty, evil people. You know, that's who our sort of great grandfathers were, you know, great grandparents and ancestors. They were really bad people. You know, they used really nasty tricks to kill loads of people and steal their land. And that's why we've been so successful, because we're basically two-faced demonic monsters. So therefore we can't look at our history properly, because we'd rather believe lies. You know, we're a fucking nightmare, you know. And I don't just mean white people. I mean, it doesn't matter. The color of your skin is not really important. It's the deception that's important. It's the dark evil energy of the vampiric Agent Smith, like, you know, alien mind that takes over everyone, if it can, you know. And I think the only way to defeat it is to become conscious. You know, make the darkness aware, as Carl Jung said. You know, make the darkness conscious, and that will make it go away. Okay, I'm just going to quickly have a little think for a minute about making a review of my last video. Right, okay, so my last video, right at the end, because it was a 12-hour video and I was talking pretty much all the way through. So, but right at the end, in the last minute, I tried to summarize it and get and provide a conclusion, and it was something along the lines of so the reason you should do the work is because you need to open up your mind to the possibilities of what reality is, what it means. And I'm not in a position. I've got no strong, definite beliefs about things, except that there seems to be several possibilities that are don't seem to be mainstream at all, so that they're worth looking into. Like there are several of them. One is that there are your beliefs can affect your reality, mold your reality. This is in that I stuck even the video in 12 hours. I couldn't remember the name of that stuff. The film and the book, where they're talking about like, the miracles. That it's not the Course of Miracles. It's something like that. That kind of same kind of new age bullshitty kind of stuff. Where they're talking about how your belief and your thoughts like build reality, which makes scientific sense. It fits with certain scientific observations. Okay, one thing, there is a lot of maybes. There does seem to be a lot of maybes. It's hard work. It's work. Doing the work is work. It's like finding out stuff, finding out knowledge. It's a lot of it's to do with finding out how much you don't know. You've heard stuff, you've read stuff, you've watched some videos. You think you might know stuff. When you do the work, you realise how little you actually know. You basically don't know anything. I don't know anything. I'm just groping around in the dark. But at least I know now that I'm groping around in the dark. Now, for a lot of people, they're not going to be satisfied with that. They want proper knowledge. They want to know stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, this connects with what Robert Anton Wilson says about belief is the end of intelligence. It's the death of intelligence. When you start believing stuff 100%, then you stop thinking. So you stop being intelligent. Your mind is suddenly closed. Now, the conclusion I've come from doing the work is that we just don't know anything, pretty much. What we know is very, very little. Right? For example, the double slit experiment. We know that electrons behave differently if a human being is watching them than when they do when there is no human being watching them. But what does that mean? Who can say what that means? We've got scientific stuff. We know that things work, do certain things and behave in certain ways. But what that actually means in real terms is it's an unknown. It's a complete unknown. And you will find that there's a lot of stuff like this. The history, going back to history again, the World Trade Center bombings, 9/11 as it's quite often referred to. As far as I can see, it was all government. It was done by the government. It was like this is not what it appears to be in the media. Buildings don't fall down like that. Except when they've been demolished by experts. That's the only way buildings like that fall down like that. You need a planned demolition job. All the explosives have got to be like put all the way through the building in just the right places. It's like there's no way a building's going to fall down like that, but because a plane flew into it. It's just not possible. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. You know, it's not just a theory. That's like many, like probably hundreds of architects have argued the same. The people that really know what they're talking about are all saying the same thing. This can't possibly happen. You know, a plane flying into one of those buildings can't make it disintegrate in the same way that a planned demolition works. So a planned demolition is an extremely unlikely event if you took a look at it in terms of chance. It's like winning the lottery about 50 times in a row. There's no way that a plane could fly into there. All the bits of the metal all the way through the building would have to have all been corroded in precisely the right places. And even then, it's like there's no way that they would have all fallen down at the same time. It's impossible. But of course, because people have seen it on camera and seen it on film, they think that it must be true. It must have been how the media portrays it and what the government says. Because they're just fucking stupid. You know, oh yeah, I'm fed up with this stuff. Where was I going with this? Okay, yeah, so the reason people don't accept history is because it makes them look really bad and really stupid, you know. And the ironic thing is, if we don't acknowledge that we've been really stupid, we can't change, can we? We're not learning from history. This is the horrible thing about the bread and circuses. It just keeps people distracted. They haven't got the time for these kind of videos and to think clearly about what's going on. I can make a 12-hour video about all this stuff. I don't think many people are going to watch it, you know, and there's probably not much point watching it. I can make a 20-minute video or 22-minute video. I think basically people aren't going to listen because they don't want to hear a bad report about themselves or their parents or their grandparents or their ancestors. They don't want to know that those people were like basically pretty much evil, you know, like monsters. So that's why they would rather believe lies, and because collectively the majority of people drag everyone else with them, you know. So history is probably going to be written as though the World Trade Center, you know, in 200 years time, when people learn history about these times, the history books will say that Muslim fundamentalists blew up the World Trade Center. They're not going to say that, you know, but actually all the architects who looked at the situation pretty much all agreed that couldn't possibly have happened. So it must have been the government conspiracy, you know. That's not going to be written in the history books in 200 years' time. And that's just how things go. So this is what I've realized. I can't trust any of the history. I mean, there is some stuff like I've been reading about the Native American Indians, and you know, it's pretty much known, you know, throughout the Americas how we got rid of the natives. We poisoned them with well, infected them with like diseases, you know, things like smallpox. We gave them blankets that were like full of smallpox and wiped out, you know, tens of millions of people. And the ones, you know, we just took over the land. We were just totally like monstrous about it and totally evil. If you know, so when people look at history, you know, what you're looking, when you look at real history, then you realize that the people you're descended from are like pretty much totally evil. They're all like, it's like they're a bunch of monsters, and we've wiped out all the good people in the world and replaced them with us. We're like the orcs. Yeah. Say like in Lord of the Rings, you've got the orcs. They're like the monstrous type people. You know, they used to be elves, but they've been bred to be these monsters, right? That's what we are. That's what the people of the world are today. We're the winners. It's like the orcs won, and we're the orcs, you know. So that's why people don't would rather believe lies, because the truth makes us look really bad, and people don't want to accept that because they're weak-willed, and you know they've got very little character, they've got very little attention span, they've been dumbed down in the school system, they've had poor nutrition, so their brains don't work properly, you know. So they would much rather believe the lies, and you can tell these people this and try to encourage them to sort of like get more conscious and you know, be better people by being more conscious, because you know, if you're a monster and you're doing everything, loads of bad things, the only way you can really change is if you become aware of that. So you've got to have a good look at yourself. And Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud both said, you know, most people would rather die than have a good look at themselves. Because again, you know, where we've come from, our history, it's like we're monsters. You know, and of course, if that's what I find quite fascinating, and why I go on about this, is because if you're horrified of the fact that you know you're basically descended from monsters, then if it's so unpleasant, you want to do something about it, right? Well, then why don't you do something about it? Why don't you have a good look and change stuff that can be changed? That's the only logical way of dealing with the problem. But what do you people do instead? You go and believe a load of lies and carry on being monsters instead. It's like there's this huge contradiction in your behavior. On the one hand, you're frightened of looking at yourself, and the only explanation is that because you're horrified about what you see. So the only remedy for that is going to have a really good look about what you see and do whatever's necessary to change it, to make it something that you can look at and be happy to see. So instead, you become this even worse monster. You become all the things that you hate about yourself and perpetuate them, you know. I think I've said this before. I'm just going to close this video now. I've said it before, I'll probably say it again. Thanks for watching.